Hello, I hope you're having an amazing day, and I want to start off by sharing with you that you are a genius, you are special, you mean the world, and you are loved. Today's topic is my transformation. This was a little bit of a harder topic to decide to do, but it was requested, and I decided that I do see merit in it. Because depending on where you are, if you're where you want to be or where you're not want to be, where you do not want to be, we can make a transformation. And I'll share with you that many of us perhaps don't find ourselves today where we want to be. So I've decided to share my transformation. Well, I'll share with you that I'm currently living in a third world country. I'm in Honduras. This was my birthplace. I was adopted. I lived through physical, emotional, psychological, sexual abuse, and I was adopted by my family. And nothing's perfect in life. And I grew up always, my father would claim that I was very entitled. Well, that's something that perhaps comes with, with the millennials. But if I can, take myself out of the picture, it goes to show that the 7 years, the Jesuits said, you give me a man for 7 years and I'm going to tell you who that person becomes. I can tell you that person's future. Well, if that has any merit, and they are the Jesuits, and taking psychology and the science of the brain waves changing as you grow older, I didn't really have much, right, from that age 0 to 7. So that taken into account, I was that energy vampire. I was taking from my family. They were giving, giving, giving. I was blessed to have such a great family, um, and I was just taking. Always ending up in like probation. Minor theft, like stealing habits that I had poor stealing habits. I was a horrible liar. My school, I don't even know how I went through school. Like I would show up to class, but that was really it. There was never not no no fire for school. I was literally like a plastic bag just floating around, and I didn't really know what I had going on. And I guess that's why my father and we probably clashed so much. I would want to do something, but I could never really make up my mind. And of course, I had no support from my parents. Them seeing well, you're not actually conscious. You're not deciding what you want to do. You see a sign and you're like a squirrel. You run to it. So, and all this money that was spent because of me, all the wrongs that I did, um, I ended up not only like losing myself along the way, a lot of my friends and my family. I just finished watching the Harry Potter series, the full 8 movie series, and I can very much say like I not only built my prison of Azkaban, but I put myself in there. My family, they just they very much tough love, and they shunned me, and they were like, hey, you know what? You can't stay here. You have to figure it out on your own. So going out into the world, been homeless a couple times. All of this translated into me ending up in a third world country, attempted suicide, and that was all. I can say those are actions. None of these things are who I am, and they don't make a person. I don't. I have a hard time believing that good people come from bad situations. I don't believe that, because in life there's no equation. You can't plug someone in to a good situation and predict that they're going to come out a bad person, nor can you plug a person in into a good situation and predict that they're going to be a bad person. It's the same on the flip side. You can't plug in a person to a bad situation and say they're going to be good, nor can we plug that same person into a bad situation and say that they will be bad or good. Like there is no in life, there's no equation for it. I do believe in destiny, but I believe God doesn't show you the first step until you take that step. Let me reiterate that. God's going to show you the first step once you take the first step. And the first step is going inwards. The first step is not limiting yourself. I'll share with you that how I ended up to being, transcending all this negativity was stepping into myself, finding a spiritual connection, because that is what we are. We're as much, physical nature is it's an illusion. Everything's moving at a very high speed, and I mean it's pretty clear that there's nothing actually physical. It just appears to be physical. And then we have the less complicated, the non-physical. Well, I started just tapping into knocking the door, opening doors, speaking, saying I love myself, affirmations, and all of this. I ended up being able to I believe, I'm still not where I want to be with my parents, with my family. I believe I left them very marked. I know they love me, and I'm 100,000 miles away. Um, and perhaps they still believe I'm going through a learning period, or excuse me, they might very very much believe that this is a phase in my life. Well, I understand that, I very, very much so left them very much with all the negativity, all my nonsense bullshit that I was living, right? Drugs, in and out of juvenile, misdemeanors. I mean, I was a hot mess. So now I've transmuted, my base thoughts. I've learned to transcend trauma. I've learned how to utilize the faculties, the higher faculties that are inside the body to transmute those base emotions into uplifting, loving emotions. And the rest of it is really history. I have a hard time, sharing how to be successful or how to make money or how to be happy because for someone that's living through the heart as I do, someone who's living a five-dimensional life, well, to be happy doesn't no longer takes external stimulus. You realize that you are the creator of your state if you choose to be so. It's not for everyone, perhaps. I sure as hell didn't understand, would never believe that this is a possibility, but I stepped into myself. I started living through the heart to create an elevating emotion, and I said the rest of history because now I can't talk about, my past. Now I just talk about facts. We have the science of epigenetics. Epi means above the gene. We have brain mapping with EEG. There's gas discharge technology. We see so many people have been doing it. We see the placebo effect. Um, Phenomenal results there. We also have Dr. Joe Dispenza that has done tests on over 7,000 different gene expressions showing the effects of meditation, standing meditations, sitting meditations, walking meditations, living through the heart, cultivating and elevating emotion, and you start to non-locally affect others by living through the heart. So the moment your emotion, your energy is elevated, is up here in the realm of love, bliss, and so forth, you start radiating. So you start affecting non locally people that you think about, your environment, and I mean it's really quite phenomenal, but it's not that mystical. It's very to me it's very like cause and effect. Although what we're doing is letting go of the Newtonian world and stepping into the quantum reality that we all live in. That is to say that I've learned that my thoughts and my emotions have an outcome in my future. Where before I was under the paradigm, I was under the impression, under the belief that the only option I have is to react to my environment. So whenever I wouldn't receive the help or whenever I wouldn't, get the job, I thought the only possibility that was there for me was react. But we're now seeing the quantum field, quantum physics, that life is very different. I've realized that my emotions and my thoughts have an outcome in my future. So quickly, I'll share with you that um, I mean, externally everything with my family appears to be amazing. I personally it's my job and I want it to be an overwhelming, success. So I it's still not amazing. It's not 100% where I am. I'm sure they're very proud of me and they show how proud they are and so forth. Financially, I'm at the best place I've ever been. I have a very loving relationship. I have a job that I've maintained longer than ever. I excel at it, and I love my job. So I can say that living through the heart 100% is the key to life if used properly, if used to cultivate an elevated emotion, because it's science, ladies and gentlemen. At this point, I mean, what do science say? The only way to grow there's sufficient medical and scientific evidence to show that only when the body is in pleasant states there can be growth, that intelligence can take place, that memory is enhanced. So, I mean, just imagine yourself being happy 24/7 and you're consciously creating this. Well, you're sending chemical signals to the brain, and the brain's going to receive these chemical signals and it's going to relay thoughts that are electrical signals. So now you start changing your life. Well, I mean, how do you expect someone that has gone through all the trauma, all the abuse that I've gone through? How do you expect to see them? Do you expect them to be shining, to be looking like a light? I can't answer that for you, but I'll tell you, testimony from people that I've shared this with who are having their own experience and my own experience. I mean, let's look at this last bit of science. So, every memory is tied with with an emotional signature. The size of the neocortex allows that whenever I have a memory, the emotions tied to it are released. So the average human being is subject to his mind. Why? Because they're not emotionally affecting themselves. They have a memory and they begin to embody that. So there's people that have lived worse lives, but I would say I've lived a pretty from 1 through 7, not the life that I would want for anybody else. So now whenever if a memory comes to me of the past, let's say I'm vibrating hypothetically, right? My vibration is at positive 50 and there's this traumatic memory that comes to my mind. Well, it has that energetic signature and it's of, let's say, negative 10. Well, let's do math. We don't have to be a genius to understand, like, psychologically what's going to be the outcome of this negative experience if you're consciously making yourself feel so elevated. So that, what does this do? Well, that energy, Dr. Joe Dispenza says, a memory without the energetic charge is wisdom. And that's when you can open up your life. You have a bigger vision. You don't have a divergent. You're looking externally and you have a wide screen and you can really just start to make really dramatic changes in your life and take leaps forward. So that's been my testimony. A lot of ugly, um, the sun is shining, there is rainbows around me every single day, so I'm blessed for that, and that's my message: living through the heart, creating and elevating emotion. If you want more information, please contact me. I specialize in sharing how to live through the heart. I've done this with individuals and I've grown a family of individuals that are living through the heart and having their own mystical amazing experience. And I also want to invite you to share this video with your loved ones, with your mastermind group, with your best group of friends, and comment below what topics you'd like for me to cover in the future. Peace, love, and happiness.